Hello everyone and welcome to this new course about Next.js with Supabase. We are going to create a team component that will be reusable in any application. You can find the code into the description. In this team component, we will be able to add new members, change their role, their status, and also to remove them. In order to do so, we are going to leverage Supabase, create tables and RLS policies, and use the real time to update our team component in real time. If you like this course, please put a thumbs up, a comment, and if you want to go deeper into Supabase, you can go into the description, get my course called supercourse.dev. Thank you very much and enjoy this course. Okay, to start our team component, we are going to use basically Next.js. And under Next.js 14, we will be able to create an app and create our component teams that you will be able to copy-paste into your own project. So the first step will be to create a Next.js 14 application. Then the second step will be to add a component library. And here we are going to use Chatcn. Chatcn, it's a component library ready to use that will provide to us a lot of components that will be very, very useful. If you go here on the documentation, you can see all the components that we're going to use. And you can also use the installation Next.js documentation here to directly create your own Next.js application with Chatcn. Basically, here we can see that we use create next app with TypeScript and Tailwind because yes, Chatcn is using Tailwind, and when we will get Tailwind, we will be able to do also some custom design directly inside our app. After that, we will init Chatcn UI directly here. Finally, what we're going to do, we are going to use Supabase to work on our database and to store our team and also our team members. And you will see that with the app, we are going to have a real-time interaction between Supabase and our Next.js app using Chatcn components. Let's take a quick look at how our team component is going to look like. And I just see here that I got green hairs just on top of it because of my green screen behind. But anyway, so our team components will look exactly like this. We will have a team component composed by several subcomponents, children, that will help us to provide some actions and some informations also. So here, the first thing that we're going to have is a new button, a new member, a new component, I call it, which will be a pop-up that will help us to add a new member. So we will have the full name, the email, and probably the role, because we would like to work on some roles inside our team. We're going to have the admin, the manager, and the member. So here with this pop-up, we'll be able here to click and save a new member. And to display these members inside our team component, we will get, of course, a data table here coming directly from Chatcn. And on this data table, there will be rows. And every row will be a new member. We will do a custom component here, a user item component. So if you know already my channel and if you know me, guys, you know that in previous courses, I showed you how to create a user item component. Very nice. I even did a custom library that I should come back on it. By the way, I should come back and just improve it. But anyway, we're going to use a user item here. And then here we will have the option to change the role. So remember, we will have the role up here, but also we will have what we call a role selector. So basically this role selector will be a component by itself. So every component here will carry its own logic, which will be very practical. At the end, at last, we will have a remove button here that will show a pop-up to remove the current member with a validation. And of course, we don't want necessarily to remove the user to just delete it from the database. We probably would like to show a remove status. So we will have also probably a status coming just after. Okay, so basically right now, I already started and I got my Next.js application running. There's nothing in it yet. We can see that it's totally empty. What I could do at first is just coming back in here and I'm going to remove everything in here, and I'm going to use my custom snippet here and just put hello, and then there we go, we've got our hello. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do probably is to initiate Chat-CN, and after that I would like to add my own components directly from Chat-CN. So I'm going to come back here, and I can see here that I can init Chat-CN. So I'm just going to copy paste this, and I'm going to come back, just open in here, just stop, clean everything for you to be clean, and I'm going to init Chat-CN UI. All right, so when I click here to init Chat-CN, I got the CLI. I'm going to use default, I'm going to use neutral, and I'm going to use the CSS variable for colors. I'm going to say yes, and here it's going to init Chat-CN directly inside my project. Once it's done, I need to add actually every component that I want to use. So here, basically, I'm going to add all the components at once, okay? What I want to do, because here, if we look at the documentation, we can see down there that we can add the button at first, okay? Basically, here it's going to add the component button, but I'm going to add all the components that I'm going to use all along this course. So I'm just going to copy paste this, and you can do exactly like I do. So I'm going to use the alert dialog, I'm going to use the badge, I'm going to use the button, the checkbox, the dialog, the drop down menu, and we will see that after we will need to add some custom libraries, because we can't use just only this component. We need to add other components because Chat-CN relies on Radix UI, and we need to use also some sub library such as Tanstack. Okay, drop down menu, input, I'm going to put the label also. I'm going to use select, I'm going to use zoner, and finally the table. So when I type this, what's happening in here is that the CLI imports every component that I will need. So if I go to source and components here, we can see that under the folder UI, suddenly I got all those new files that are added. It's all the components that we're going to use all along this course. All right, so what I can do immediately is just to type yarn dev, all right, and then my project is going to run here on 3000, but nothing is happening yet. What I probably would like to do is to work probably on the first component that I'm going to use, and here on components I'm going to create a new folder called team, and in this team I'm going to create an index.tsx. This is going to be the root file of our component. So here in white we can see that this is going to be the index that will receive the whole component. After that you will be able to use directly this team component by itself. Okay, so I'm going to put team here, and I'm going to put team component. And on my page, I'm going to come back to the page. There we go. What I can do is to directly use here the code that I already wrote. I'm going to import the team component, and I'm going to add some style to get basically in the center here my team component. Very good. So now we've got this. What I can probably do is to set up this whole new team component. So I'm going to close this, I'm going to come back in here, and I don't want necessarily to have this component like this, but I would like to have something more stable like this. There we go. So I'm going to hide this. We don't need right now the data table and the column because we don't have it. But look at this. So I got my team, and this is how my team is going to look like. It's going to have members, and I'm going to inject the members into a data table, the table that we use from Chat-CN. Okay, so we can look basically at the model, and this is going to be the model that we are going to replicate on Supabase. We're going to have a name, we're going to have an email, we're going to have a role and a status. Right now I don't got any ID. Okay, Supabase is going to provide to me an ID and a created at. But these are going to be basically the columns that I will need to create later into Supabase. All right, so as I said to you, if we come back to the Excalibur, we are supposed to have a data table. So if I go to Chat-CN, let me go to Chat-CN, and down here, I'm going to go to table. Here we can see that we have a first table, but this table doesn't get any filter, and probably later I would like to have some filter. So I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go to data table, and here we can see, hey, we've got some filters, some sorting that we can use. We can only use that with data table. So I'm going to go down, and we can see here that I was missing this TanStack React table. So I'm just going to copy paste this, and I'm going to open my terminal, and I'm going to install this TanStack React table. Once it's done, I would like that we take a look quickly at the package.json. So I'm going to run again here on dev. Let's look at the package.json, and here what we can see is that our package.json received a lot of new libraries when we install actually all the ShadCN components. We've got here Radix UI that has been added for the label, the select, the dropdown, etc., etc. So most of the time when you get problems with ShadCN components, it's probably because you missed a library to install. Okay, so check that before. All right, so we've got it in here, and let's come back. If we go down, we can have a look at this part of the project structure, and we can see that we have app, payments, columns, data table, page. Okay, so here we've got the basic architecture of actually a data table and the columns and stuff that we can add from ShadCN. And this is what is recommended to do. However, I know that my data table will be used probably several times into my app. Not necessarily in this course, but probably later, and in your case, you want to integrate this team component into an existing app. And this data table will be replicated through a lot of folders. That's not what I want to do. I would like to have a data table for all my tables. Which will make the difference? It's the columns that we got in here. Those columns here, they will change depending on the table. So here we got payments, but let's say that later we're gonna get members. The members will have a column.tsx, but payments and members will share the same data table. Okay, so I'm going just to copy paste the existing data table component, which is here, but I'm going to copy paste it at the root of my components folder. So I'm going to go here and type data table.tsx, and I'm just going to copy paste the code here of the data table. Remember, you need the TanStack React table to continue. All right, so now I've got it. I would like to create another component, and this component is going to be the new component, the new member for the team. So what I can do here is to type here new file. I'm going to add new.tsx, and I'm just going to initiate my new component, hello new member. I could create a folder member, okay, but I just put it at the root because for me in my team there's only members, so a new element of the team, it's not necessarily a new team, it's a new member. Okay, right, so now I got this. What I can do is just to change my TSX, which is down. So here I'm supposed to have hello team component, but here what I did is that I got suddenly my data table, so I can type data table coming from data table, and here I can type new from new, and here we go. Here on the columns, I don't get it yet. I'm going to create it after. So I'm just going to put that. And let's come back to the app and let's see if something happens. I'm going to just update. And normally we should have, there we go. We have right now our two parts. So here the main component and here the hello new member. Okay, so we already got members, but they don't appear here. So what should I do? Well, it's really easy. What we should do is to create the columns, and we don't get yet the columns. So I'm going to come here and create a new folder called members. And again, you could put new inside members, and it doesn't matter, but I'm just doing it this way. And I'm going to create a column.tsx. Okay, so I would like to inject this column.tsx in here. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to import up here columns coming from just the file that is here, okay, which is totally empty. It doesn't find it yet. So if we come back, and here we got an error and it's totally normal. If we come back here, we've got a file columns, and we can see that columns is basically an array with object and some keys. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just to export by default just one first column here, and there we go. I'm going to close this. And I need to add the colon definition that is coming here. So here, there we go. And we've got our colon. So now I can come back down here and I can inject the colons coming from members colons. That's what I want. However, it's not going to change anything because I didn't inject the model of the colons. In this colon.tsx, we need to inject actually how colons are looking like, and we can get the value and customize every column, every row, every cell. So basically, what I want to do at first is to have the name. So remember, let's come back here. I would like to have a column for the name. So I want to display the name here. And as I said to you, I already created this custom component here. It's not a component, sorry, this custom piece of code here, where we catch the name, okay, by using the row.getValueName. Really easy to understand. And then the email, we catch the email also. So the result, when I come back, suddenly my component got some shape. We've got this user item, which is here. Basically, I'm not going to do some advertising, but I already created a component for that called user item. Feel free to help me to improve it. But here, that's the kind of user item we would like to have. I replicated it inside here. So as we can see, let's take a look quickly at the code. As we can see here, I created some piece of Tailwind CSS, and I used the name and I created some kind of avatar. And yes, I know what you're gonna say. If you know Chatien, why didn't you use the avatar of Chatien? It's just for the course, okay? I want to create my own avatar in here. So I created this avatar, and thanks to the cell here function directly inside my object, inside my model, I can get the row, and with the row, I can get the value, which makes me actually loop through every element of the members and just display those members like this, okay? Like this, and we got a very nice, actually a very nice result. Okay, let's come back. We can see that we've got a role, and now we want to display the role. So here in this model, I displayed the full name and actually the email, okay? What I would like to display now, it's the role. So at this step of the course, what I need to do and what I want to do is to use some hooks that will help me, some custom hooks that will help me basically to go faster. So I'm going just to close here, and on my source folder inside basically here, I'm going to create a new folder called hooks. And in these hooks, I'm going to create a usehelpers.ts. There's a lot of libraries that can give you custom hooks, and I think about use React, if I remember well, that we can use, that is providing to us a lot of hooks. Basically here, I don't necessarily need to have a big library imported directly into my project. I want to create my own logic in order for you to understand how it works, okay? So basically in here, in my use helper, I'm going to create a hook with some basic code that I will reuse everywhere inside my app. And basically, I'm going to have a loading state, I'm going to have an open state, and a selected state. So we will use the loading basically for every call. We will use open for every modal, and we will use selected for some specific case when we need to select an element. Okay, now I got this use helper. I can call it directly inside my column. So what I would like to display here, it's the role, okay? I would like to display the role of the current user. So I'm going just to add this logic, and I need to use the use helper, and we should be good. So here we can see down here that there's a component that I didn't create yet, but we are going to create after. It's basically the role component. So exactly like the previous key that we got here, and I can look here, there we go. What I have here is basically the accessor key role. So I think probably I put one more, there we go. So here we catch the role, and on the header I got a role. And again with the cell, what I can do is to use my custom hook with a custom function that we are going to add later to change the role directly to Supabase. So what I propose you to do is basically to come back, and here in the team members, I'm going to create an option folder, and in this option folder, I'm going to create a role.tsx. There we go. This role.tsx, let's come back, it's going to be this orange part here. I will have the role, and when I click on it, we can see it already. Let's get back here. I will have the role, which is basically here a div, or it can be a button or whatever. And when I click on it, I will have the selector that is displayed if I'm an admin, and I can change the role of the people. We're going to see that after. Okay, so I need this component, which is a select. And if I come back to chat.cn, basically I have the selector here, this selector that I can use to select some roles. And this is exactly what we are looking for, right? So here I'm going to come back, and I'm going just to import directly what I wrote. Here I can create a select component with two props. The first prop is going to be the selected member, so the selected role, sorry, which is here member, and here the set selected. And we can see here the three roles that I decided to create. And remember, those roles are exactly the same as here. We can see that we got a role admin, manager, and member. These are the three levels of the role, okay? We could have worked on it with TypeScript, but just for the course, I'm doing it this way, okay? So basically, we got those roles, admin, manager, and member. And basically, we inject to this select the roles. And those roles, they appear in a list, okay? So what I want to do now that I got this select with those roles, and I'm going to change the selected role when we will click on it by using the default value selected, and on value change set selected. Again, if you look at what are the props of every element, remember here that on chat.cn you got always this button, API reference, here, and if you click on it, we arrive on Radix UI because this select is built on Radix, and you got here all the props that you need. Okay, right, amazing. So now I got this. What I want to do is to come back to my columns, and remember, here down here we are supposed to get these roles, and if I use these roles, I need to import these roles directly from the options, and there we go. Let's take a quick look at the code that I got here, especially on this one here, on the roles. I'm going to zoom, or probably de-zoom, there we go. We've got the roles, and we can see that as a props, I pass the selected as a role, so the role of the current user, and then as a set selected props, I got a function that is actually using onWorld change. So onWorld change, I'm supposed to alert the current role that has been changed, and later I will do the job on the functional part. All right, so now let's test. If I click here, I can see that suddenly I got a select, and I have manager, member, whatever. And when I click, we can see that I will be able to catch the user and the new role that we will assign to this user, right? So here we are not going to, and I know it's a common mistake that a lot of people do. What you would like to do here is to update the user, the current user, locally. So to go back to the array where there is the user and to update the role. We are not going to do that because thanks to Supabase, we can use real time. And this data table actually is going to be updated in real time. So when I will click on manager, I will say, okay, here it will directly change the current user on the table. Okay, so there we go. We got our option to change the roles and stuff. We are very happy. Now what we would like to do is to continue on those columns and just add actually probably a new column, okay? A new column to the columns that we are using now. Okay, so remember here, I'm going to open the columns again. There we go. Here, remember we've got a status. So here what I did is that I created some elements, and we are going to use the badge from directly from chat.cn. I'm going to save that. There we go. We've got here the status, and what I do is a switch to the status, and depending on the status, I'm changing here the color of every status. So we got pending, active, and removed. Okay, so pending, it will be because when we will invite a member, we are supposed to send an email, and if the user wants to accept or not, he has to click and be redirected to the app, and then he's an active member. Okay, so he passes from pending to active, and if we remove actually the member, we will have not an action that will delete the member, which is totally possible, but here in that case, we assume that we just want to change the status. I put removed, but actually it could be archived or whatever. Here, I don't necessarily want to do a destructive action. So we got remove, and finally we got unknown in case we have a weird status or whatever happening. All right, and when I come back, we can see that I got those status active, pending, and removed with some colors. That's really, really, really nice. That's really cool. We got the status changing, and probably we can change this status with a remove button. So basically, what we need to have is another column, and this other column basically will be here an actions column. So here we can see that I got an option component that we didn't create yet, but we are going to create now. This option button will be actually a drop-down menu. I called it options here because it will be probably a full list of different options. Remove is one of these options. You will be able to add more options in the future in this drop-down menu. So let's come back. We've got the options, and remember we got roles for now. I'm going to create a new index.tsx. And in this index.tsx, what I want to do basically is to create a drop-down menu with all the options that I got. So if I come back to chat.cn here, and I'm going to come back here, I go to drop-down menu, which is here, there we go. And we can see here that we got exactly what we're looking for. When we click on it, we got all these options, etc. Here we can see that we can add directly the drop-down menu with all the options. And this is exactly what I want. I would like to have a drop-down menu with some options, okay? So I'm going to come back, and basically my drop-down menu is going to look like this. Okay, so I would like to have also a first option, which is remove. So I'm going to create remove.tsx next to roles, and we can see now that the options are all located at the same place, so I can just read them really easily. And I'm just going to copy paste, okay, the remove that I got here, and there we go. Okay, so one thing at a time. So we got these options, and I'm going to put these options in here. And when I come back in here, we can see that we miss some components. I'm just going to hide this component now because we are going to create it together just after in order to have what we want. Okay, this here is the option index that we have with all the options. So if I close everything and I come back to the source of my app and I go to components and I go to teams, members, options, I got this index in here. Let's look at it first. This set option here is having a menu, and on this menu here, we can see that we got an icon, which is user X, okay, and a title remove member. We have here two parts inside this option menu. We've got a pop-up, which is a remove pop-up, and at the same level, we got a drop-down menu. Okay, so what we do here is that on our drop-down menu, I would like you to look at this. When we click on an element, and here we are going to open it, we got remove member. And when I click on remove member, what I would like to have is a pop-up that opens. There are several ways to do that. You can do it at a context level, you can do it at a local level, a parent level, or you can do it as a children level, for instance. Me, what I did is that I located everything inside my index.tsx, which means that here, this part of the app, this component, options, is supposed to carry all the logic and all its children. I assume the pop-up is a child of this element in here, the remove one. However, I cannot inject my remove component directly inside my drop-down menu item here because there will be some conflict. For instance, the opening, closing of the menu and the pop-up, it will be too messy. So what I do is that at the parent level, I put my pop-up on the top and I put my drop-down menu just after. Okay, let's continue. Here I got my menu, which is up here, and for now I got only one option, which is the remove member. You can add as many options as you want. This is why I created this array, is to let you the option to continue. All right, so here what I do is that when I click on a drop-down menu here, it's not going to open the pop-up immediately. It's going to set a selected item, which is a key, and here we got the key remove. And when I see that the key remove has been selected, so when selected here, up here, coming from use helpers, and remember, we created this hook before, what it's going to do, it's going to open the remove pop-up. So the pop-up is injected here from remove, and the pop-up is simply a dialog, which receive what as a prop? The open coming from the parent. So there is only one pop-up. If you have several pop-up in the future, there will be only one pop-up that will open. And here, in that case, it will be the remove one. Again, there will be also the logic to remove the member. We will come back to it after. Okay, so I got the remove one, I got the drop down. I'm going to come back in here. And if I click on remove menu, what we've got basically, we've got what? We've got the pop-up to remove the member. And we can see, if I click on cancel here, that every time I'm looping through the right member because I injected the user from the columns.tsx. Let's recapitulate. Let's coming back. We've got the data table with a row, and we've got this remove button. When we click on it, we've got the remove pop-up with the button to confirm. But the button confirm, we didn't saw it. Let's coming back. There is no button to confirm. Well, we are going to create a custom component, and this custom component will be called custom button. I would like to create my own button here. I would like to use the Chat-CN button and create a button with a custom loader. So what I need to do is to create my own component called custom button. So I'm going to come back here, and in my components folder, I'm going to type custom button.tsx. And inside in here, I'm going just to use this custom button, which is made in two parts. The first part, it's going to be if there is a loading state. And the loading state is coming from the props. Okay, if there's a loading state, we're going to show the button in variant outline with a loader, and we leverage Tailwind with its class animate spin to make it turn. Really easy. The second part is going to be the button by itself. And there will be the onClick function passed as a prop. The other props that we are going to use is the label, so the text of the button, and then the variant. So now I got my custom button. I can come back here to my options to remove. And here on the top, we can see that I imported the custom button here. And remember, I'm passing the loading prop, and I'm going to pass also the label and the function that I want to click. So this custom button, which carries the logic of a real button plus the logic of actually a loader, will be probably used everywhere inside my app. Okay, so when I come back, suddenly I got my confirm and I got cancel, and then we can click on it, and there we go. Okay, we've got our table with all our users here. What I would like to have is actually this new pop-up. Remember, here I'm supposed to click on new member and have a pop-up with a form. All right, so here what I need to do is to come back to the new component. So I'm going to type new here. I'm going to type enter, and right now it's totally empty. So step by step, what I'm supposed to do is to create a complex, probably the most complex component of this course, even if it's not that complex. And here we are going to decompose together this whole component. At first, I got a new member, and this new member component here will import open, set open, loading, set loading from user helpers. Remember, this is the hook we created before. Here there is the model of a new member. And remember, there's a name, there's an email, and there's a role. Here I didn't put the status, but probably I could put the status pending directly in here. But I didn't put the status because in Supabase, the default here of colon will be pending. Okay? So basically, we can remove this status for now. Of course, there is no ID. Then we will have a function called send invitation that will actually save the user into the database, but also probably will send an email to invite the user. And then the user, when we will click to the email, there will be a route inside our app that will help us to turn the user from the status pending to the status active. Okay, so once I got this model, I got the function to add a new member, and I got the new member model. We are going to come back for Supabase just after. I got here what we can see here, a dialog, and in this dialog I got the open variable that is set up here, bounded here, and we got an open change which change here the status open or not. Then we got the dialog trigger, and if I look here on the dialog content, I got a dialog header, add a new member with a description, and here we've got the form, and I leveraged Tailwind to create my form, and I use the label and input directly from where? From Chatien. And look at that, at the end we got our custom button. That's really, really easy to understand, long to write, but really easy to understand. I could have used another library to create a custom form, whatever. Here I did it by hand because this is supposed to be a lesson to learn how to create everything from scratch. Okay, so here we got new member, and if I click on new member, look at this, we suddenly got the pop-up. And which is fun is that here you understand it's the label, here it's the input, and here we got select role. And remember guys, remember, let's look at this last part. We got our roles component, which is coming from where? We created this role components just before, from the select with the roles that we got here. Okay, so here, which is really cool, we reuse the roles component that is here, and we set the role of the member when we click here if we wanted to put him as an admin, as a manager, etc., etc. So we will be able basically to actually, Josh tried coding, my friend Josh. Josh tried coding in here at gmail.com. We will be able to add some members directly to our team by clicking on send invitation, and then we will get probably a pop-up with Zoner saying congratulations, you succeed to add the member. This is actually the end of this part on UI. Here we can see that we created a UI that is totally functional, where we can click directly on the role in here, or we can remove the member here. This is very useful to add new members to our team. Let's pass on the step of adding a Supabase layer on top of that to save the teams and the team members. The next step is to create a Supabase instance to store our teams and our members. And if you look for more courses about Supabase, you can go on the free course on my YouTube channel. Or if you want, I created a course, an advanced course on Supabase called the supacourse.dev. You have the link in the description. Okay, so now I got my instance of Supabase created here, Code with Guillaume. And what I'm going to do directly is to go on the documentation, and depending on the framework you are going to use, there's different way to install Supabase. Me, I'm just going to go down and click here on JavaScript. And when I click on JavaScript, I arrive here and I got this command to install Supabase. So I'm just going to copy paste this directly inside my terminal. I'm going to type npm install Supabase.js. And in Next.js, here I will have Supabase available. Okay, so when it's done, the first thing that I would like to do is to import my my credentials. So to get my credentials, I can go here on the main dashboard, and I go here on Connect. And when I click on Connect here, I can see that I can have a direct access to my instance of Postgres. And then if I click here on App Framework, I can get my credential directly. I'm not going to click here because here it's my own instance. I don't want to show you my code. But here, if you click here, you can get access directly to your code. So what you can do at first is to create a new file, and here is going to be a .env.example. And here we've got an env file, which is the example of our instance. Well, basically here, what you're gonna have is to have two entries, and those two entries are really easy to understand. We are under Next.js, so it's going to be first with next_public, and here we're gonna have the substitute URL and the substitute anon key that we will use. Okay, so after that, what I want to do is to just create my new instance. So I'm going to go here, create a new file called supabase.ts, And in Supabase.ts, I'm going to basically just import my client of Supabase. So you already know that. I'm just going to copy paste this here, and we can see that I create a client using the SDK that I already installed previously. I'm going to also create another file which will be at the root of source here, and it's going to be config.ts. And here, basically, I'm going just to reuse the keys that I need to import in my Env file. So what I will need to do here is at the root, create a new Env file, which is exactly the same as this one, but with the code directly coming from the dashboard, coming from here, app framework. All right, naturally, just after, I need to create my teams table to set up the RLS policies. That's what I'm going to do. Right now in my project, I already existing tables, and it will be probably the case for you. It doesn't matter. I can create this table next to these existing tables. So I'm going to click here on new table. It's going to be a teams. And here I'm going to put a UUID with a generate random UUID. And what I'm going to do is to add a new column. And here I'm going to add a name, and let's say it's going to be as a name, nothing, for by default, just text, okay? We didn't do that previously. We assume at this point that when you create a user, or probably you will have another dashboard, whatever, with a button, create a team, you will have a form to do that. In our current project, we just got a team. It's just a team component. We assume that here we're going to fetch the team by its ID, and it's already been created, thing we are going to do just after. Okay, we have a name here, and let's say that we would like to have an owner ID. And here, basically, we don't have this ID yet, okay? It's going to be a owner ID that we're gonna add by ourselves. Let's say that if later we would have some authentication system, the user will log in, and here we will attribute to the owner ID its team, okay? But it will be not enough, because later we will need our members to see the team. That's what we're going to do in the RLS policies. Okay, so let's say that we got this team here with an owner ID, a name, an ID. And I'm just going to click on save. Here, for now, I'm not going to enable real-time for now, because probably we will see later that we will use real-time on the other table. And this is why you are following this course, to understand how we can build a whole team system and team member. Next thing will be to create a RLS policy to read the teams. So here, if I click here, and I'm going to just hide the template here, we got a lot of templates that can help you to directly write the RLS policy. Here, the goal is to write our own. I'm going to click here on the policy name on read. The policy behavior, I'm going to let permissive. Here, the policy command is going to be select. And on the role, two possibility. Here, I'm going to let the role empty, because for the course, I just want to read the team. But probably what you want to do is to click on authenticated. And with this authenticated role, here, basically, if you want the user, only one user to read the team, what you would do is to type auth UID is equal to user ID. User ID is actually a reference to the column user ID from team. However, here the problem is that only the owner of the team will be able to see the team and the team members by extension later. So here we would need to create a more specific RLS policy to say, hey, select one of the team members that is owned by this team. But right now we don't have any. Okay, so I'm just going to close this, and here I'm going to put true. And be safe here, this is really dangerous. Here it means that anybody will be able to see this team, and by extension the team members. So I'm going to click on save policy here. And again, here we got a really easy RLS policy. I go deeper into that, into the super course that I created. Go check that out in the description. Okay, so now I got this RLS policy here on Teams. There we go. What I can do is basically to come back on the teams table, and I'm going to create this new team, okay? And let's say that I'm going to call it Guillaume's team. There we go. And as an owner ID, I'm not going to say anything, not going to do anything. And look at that. There we go. We've got our team. All right, that's amazing. We've got the team, but we don't got the members. So I'm going to create a new table again, and here it's going to be team_members. Okay, team members, that's what I want to do. I'm going to click on enable real time because we want to watch the changes on the members and we want to add them to the new team. Okay, so again, here I'm going to use UUID because I would like to have a very unique policy on that. And here on the model of the team members, let's come back here. If I go to my index, the team, here we got the model here that is going to change after. The model of the user are going to stay the same, but here this piece of code is going to change. We are going to elaborate that. Okay, so we can see that we got the name, email, role, status, and all of them are strings. So here what I can do is just to replicate this behavior. So I'm going to put name, text, okay, and after that I'm going to put email, okay, and I'm going to put text again. Okay, there we go. Then I will have role, and here it's going to be text also, role admin. And at the end, I will have a status active, okay? And by default, here, the status will be active. So here we put the string. By default, the role here will be member. That's what we build together in the previous lesson. We've built the system with different roles: admin, member, and manager. Okay, so we've got this. That's really cool. But we miss something. How do we relate the team members to the team? Well, we basically need the team_ID. And this team ID will be a UUID. And by default here, it will be empty. But we need to relate, basically, we need to relate this team ID to the team we just created. So if I click here, I can create a relationship between here the team ID and the ID of the team that owns the member. So here I'm going to just write here teams, there we go. And here we can see that team ID will be a reference to team ID in here. So from team members, I will be able to relate the members to a team, and from the team, I will be able to fetch the members. All right, so I got this. So now what I can do here, I'm going to do it again because it closed. I'm going to start again, teams here, ID, there we go. And we can see that here we are going to create something. Action if reference row is updated, we don't want to do any actions. And if it's removed, we don't want to do any action again. There's several options here that we are not going to cover now, but it's going to be okay. Okay, now I'm going to click on save. That is done. We've got our team members table. What I'm going to do is to insert a first row, which is me, the owner of Guillaume's team. Of course, we imagine that when we create the team, we assign automatically the member to the team. So this is something that is out from this team's component, but this is a behavior, a functionality that you would add on top of your component. Okay, so let's say that here I'm going to add Guillaume Durand, okay, and I'm going to add codewithguillaume@gmail.com, and the role here would be admin. I'm active, and we can see down here that I can relate the member directly to a table, okay? So I'm going just to click here, and we can see that here we got Guillaume's team. So I'm just going to click here, and suddenly we got the ID of the team that I want to relate on. So I'm going to click on save, and there we go. So now we can see that we've got basically the team members and the teams setup. Let's try now in the SQL editor to retrieve this team and the team member. Inside Supabase, we can use the SQL editor that helps us to call our instance of Postgres and run some queries. So basically, if I select here from teams, everything from teams, and I click on run, here we can see that I got my team. And if I do exactly the same for team members and I click on run, I got exactly the same in here. Now that we have our team members created, let's not forget to create the RLS policy. And basically, this RLS policy to read the members will be exactly the same as before. Let's put it just on true for this one, and let's make it public just for this course. Otherwise, we would need basically to write the RLS policy related to the team member. Okay, this was to read. Now we want to create another policy, guys. And this other policy is to insert. here. So let's take a quick look at the templates. We can see here that we get some template that can help us. And we can see that we enable the insert for authenticated user only. Okay, so me, for now here, I'm just going to put insert. Here we would put authenticated, of course. We would like only authenticated user to insert members. Me, I'm just going to let it on true for now. And I'm going to click on save policy the same. However, this is not the only RLS policy that we need to write. We need also to write the update, because remember, we changed the role and we changed the status of the members, and we would like that only the admin role of the team would be able to do that. So I'm going to click here on create a new policy. I'm just going to close the template, and I'm going to type update only, okay, for admin. There we go. And of course, I'm going to click on update. And here you need to put authenticated in your case, which is not mine. And here I need to write the query that will help me to check if the actual member who asked to update the other member is a role admin. So here, this query is really easy to understand. We need to check if actually there's one member that exists from the team's member where actually the email is actually the email of the current user. This auth.email, it's the email of the user that is logged in. And then we want to check if this user, so me, basically the person who wants to update, is role admin. If it's role admin, it's okay, it will work. If it's not role admin, we're going to stop here. It will never return anything. Then the last one that we want to check, if the team ID, if they are really in the same team. Okay, this is what we want to check. So I'm going to click on save policy, and here, there we go. We've got the policy to update the team members if we are only role admin. Okay, so I got both of my tables, the team and the teams. I got my instance that is installed in here. Now, what we would like to do is to just fetch the data and display it into our Supabase instance. That's the only thing we need to do. The only thing that is last is just to fetch the data directly from our UI. And remember, we already worked on every piece. So we are now able just to create a function and to display the UI. But the thing here is that we created fake data to display directly inside our team component. So what we want to do is to clean a little bit this UI here, just to clean our code and come back on the functionality that we could have in here. First, we know, so I'm going just to display all of this like this. First, we had these members, and I'm going to remove these members, okay? All the existing members. So when I remove the members and I come back, we can see that we got no results anymore. However, we already got a member here, which is me. And we would like to fetch the actual team. Okay, so here, if we want to fetch the team, we are going to create a team and set team variable. And here I'm going to use my state. And let's say that basically we would have undefined in here, okay? We would have undefined. Why? Because if there is no team, we would like to display something. I assume that we will necessarily have a team, because if here we are in an application with an authentication system, we would be logged in. And so as a user logged in, probably on clicking on teams or whatever, we would create a team right away. Thing that we did previously, remember, into our table here on teams, we would create this team directly, or we would have a button actions to create this team. Okay, so here I can see that I got an ID, and here I'm just going to copy this ID. Why? Because here, me, in my case, for this demonstration, I'm just going to set up by default one ID like this here, and it's supposed to be this one. This is the team that I want to fetch to show you how the UI works. Okay. Otherwise, here on my here I would have something like /teams/ with the ID, and I would catch actually the ID through the params to fetch actually the actual team. Okay. So just for the demonstration, I'm going to use that. So we know that we are going to set a team, and those of you who already know Supabase know that we can fetch the team and the team members and store the members inside the team. For the demonstration, I'm just going to keep these members here. It will be easy for me to update them. Okay, so once we've got this, what we want to do is to come back to our use helpers. And on our use helpers, we know that we have loading and set loading, and we want to import them because we will need to have these loading states here, loading, set loading, there we go, that we will use inside our first function. And of course, this function will be what? Well, this function will be const fetch team, okay? And this is going to be an asynchronous function, okay? This asynchronous function will do what? It will directly fetch the actual team. So I'm going just to click here, and here we can see that we have our try catch here with our finally set loading on false, and here we can see that we fetch from the teams and we select the teams and the team members. Here I can see that I have the ID that I want to catch, so I'm just going to put the ID in here, there we go, and here I'm just going to console log the data. First step, I want to use effect, okay? I want to use effect, and I want to basically on use effect here, there we go, I want to just fetch the team when we launch the application. So I'm going to type fetch team, and there we go. So here we can see that we got a console log, and if I open my console with the RLS policy that I already wrote, here I'm able to fetch the team, because remember, I didn't restrict my policy to authenticated user. Right now it's just on true. You remember the check condition is on true, so it means that everybody is able to fetch the team. So now let's check if we've got here our team. I'm going to update, and there we go, we got a double call, but that's okay. Here we've got the team, and we can see that we've got the members in here. Back in my code, here we can see that I separate teams from members because it will be easy for me to watch at this array and to update it. And what I'm doing here is to fetch the actual team with single, and then I can deconstruct my team members with my team data, and I assign my set teams and my set members. Back in my app, we can see that I got the user coming directly from Supabase. Okay, but that's not the only thing that I want to do. What I would like to do also is to use the real time, and remember, let's coming back here to our table. Remember, we set up, if I remember well, the real time here on the team members, which means that I can fetch dynamically when there is a change, the new members. We want to test that right away because this is a crucial part of our application. Okay, so I'm going to go down here on my use effect, and I'm going to use actually my code coming directly from the documentation of Supabase, the subscription code. And what I'm doing here is just looking here at every event on the schema public of team members, and I'm looking for the team ID, which is equal to the team ID here, and I'm fetching the team when I got here a change. So immediately when I have a new member on the table, it's going to refetch automatically. It's going to be easier for me to have a fresh list. Okay, so let's assume that we want to do this in real time. I'm going to have here on the left here my team members, and on the right I will have my team. I'm going to insert a new row, and let's say that here it's going to be my wife, okay, and I'm going to add here aurelia.durand@mail.com. Here as a role it's going to be a member, and I'm going to assign the team here coming from here. I'm going to click on save, and what's going to happen in here is that immediately we can see in real time that we've got Aurelia that has been added directly to the environment of my application, directly to my list of members here on the top, which is really cool. We have not finished here. What I would like to do is to create a loading state. So what I'm going to say is that if there is a loading, I would like to return a specific component. And here, this is basically my way of doing things. I'm going to create a new folder called loading here. And in this loading here, I would have a loading component that will be called actually teams. So here I'm going to have team without an S here. And here I have a loading team. This is a custom skeleton that I created. Again, if you want all this code, please go into the description to the repository. You will find everything. Okay, so now I got my loading team. So I'm going just to import loading team. And if we are loading, basically, we will have a skeleton. So let's just display it. It's going to be really fast. Be safe. Here we can see here that we've got a quick skeleton, which gives a nice impression. And we can see that we got this. All right. So we are done with the fetch team. Now what we would like to do is to save the new member. And remember, we already got here the pop-up. So I'm going to close all of this. And I'm going to directly go to the team and I'm going to go to new. And here I'm going to create, here we've got send invitation. But actually I renamed it to save a new member. I'm just going to remove that, and there we go. I'm going to save a new member. I'm going to import my Supabase instance. I'm going to have my toast, and here at the end, we need to replace the on-click button by save member, and we should be good. Okay, remember here we missed something. Let's come back. We didn't pass here to our new basically to our new component, the team ID. So here, what I would like to do is to pass my team ID. And here, my team ID is going to be here, team ID. As simple as this. This is why I put it my ID here. So in the future, we would need, of course, the team ID. And we assume again that it's going to be created by default. If we come back here on the top, I need also to pass the team ID as a prop. Otherwise, if I don't catch the team ID, I will never be able, to retrieve the member from the team. All right, so now let's add a new member. It's going to be Barack Obama, and let's say barack@obama.com. Here as a role, we're going to give him the role of manager. I'm going to click on send invitation, and suddenly we've got here on the right Barack Obama. Here we don't see it that much, but here we can see that we got Barack Obama. It's working perfectly. All right, we need to update our function on role change, and this is how it's going to look like. First, we need the ID of the current user on the table. So here it's going to be Aurelia, okay? And after that, we need to update the role with the selected role coming from the select here from team members, and we target basically our member with its ID. And in return, we want to have a select, and I'm just going to do a toast. And here I'm console logging error and data to debug if I got a problem. So here I'm just going to remove that. It's for you. So suddenly here I'm supposed to see here Aurelia changing its role from member, if I click, to manager. And I'm supposed to have two behaviors. The first behavior, the loading skeleton is supposed to appear, which means that probably we want to remove it and just put it at the beginning. We can find a way for that. And also here, what I need to see is that on my Supabase table, I need to see Aurelia switching from manager to member to manager. So I'm going to click here on manager. And if I click in here, we can see here directly that Aurelia changed from manager. And on my list, I got finally Aurelia as a manager. So it works. What we need to do also is to hide the select for members that are not actually role admin thing that we can do directly on the columns. Okay, the last thing that we would like to do is to change the status of a user. We can see here that they are all inactive, and we would like to remove one member. We are going to remove Barack Obama from our team. Sorry, Barack. Okay, so remember when we click here, we got this remove member. I'm just going to go here and remember we've got on our components, on teams, on member, on options, we've got our remove member that is here. We need to improve this function in order to update the status of the member. Why don't we delete directly the member? Because we assume that probably we would like to keep track of all the members of the team. Of course, if you want to delete the member, you can use the delete function from Supabase. Here, I'm just going to switch the status because I would like to keep track on every member that have been part of my team. Okay, so what we should start to look at is how we could remove this member. Well, there is several possibilities, but the easiest possibility is to come back to our columns and to use this piece of function that we've got here, the update one, because we just want to update the status. So the only thing that I need to do is just add this. Here I don't need the open. I'm just going to call Supabase. And here we can see that we got the user up here. So what I can do is to say, hey, I'm going to just target the current user. When we click on a row, we got the user. Remember, we passed that as a prop. And what we would like to do here is to remove this update. And the only thing that we would like to do is to put the status removed. Okay, so here I'm going just to put an async await. It's going to work better. And we should be good. Then what I would like to do is to display a toast success that says that we successfully removed the user from the team. Let's check again, and I don't remember that we passed the toaster to our layout, which means that since the beginning, we didn't show any toast, and this is what we are supposed to do. So here I'm going just to come down to the children here, and I'm going to add my toaster, there we go, from Zoner, coming directly from Supabase, from Chatien, and I want to add some rich colors, and on position is going to be top right. We should be good now. Okay, so here we can see that we update this member here from team members, and let's come back, and now let's try to turn Barack Obama as a removed member. So I'm going to click on remove member here, and if I click on confirm, I'm supposed to have here an update, and we can see that our user has been successfully removed from the team. We can see that he's got the status removed. And if I look at Barack Obama on Supabase, we can see that he has the status removed. All right, this is amazing. We've got an app here, actually, a component that carries his own logic, okay? That carries all the logic to add a new member, to update a new member, to change his status, to update his role, and that is amazing. We could use basically this component in every application. Probably a last thing that we would like to do, and remember, we have a team's name. What I can do here is just to come back and say here that I would like to show either a team's name, otherwise I would have team like this. However, we can see here that we don't get any name. We would like to push a little bit on TypeScript about the type of our basic team, basically. So here I'm just going to put team, and if I come back, we can see that suddenly I got Guillaume's team. So we assume that inside an application, a user could have one team, but it could have also several teams. Because with the system that we've built now on Supabase, we could have several teams and several team members related to the selected team. Okay? You understood that the team members that we fetch are coming from the current team ID. And this team is the team ID that we can find either as a parameter, either here directly on my code, because this is for the demonstration. We should never do that. We should never have the ID like this. Well, now we can be able to basically fetch actually directly a team from a team ID here, props, if it's coming from a parent, or directly inside the component coming from a context with a user. Thank you very much for following this whole course. Again, if you want to go deeper into Supabase, there is a course that I created called Supa Course that you can find on my website or in the description. And also, I created a full course to become a full stack developer called The Developer Course. It's really complete. It's a lifetime update. There's a lot of courses that are going to come on this developer course. Thank you very much. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and see you soon. Bye.